Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Bernier. Gigantic day of racing at Mountaineer Park on Saturday. The feature is the West Virginia Derby, but we also have graded stakes action to discuss in race number 7, the West Virginia Governor's Cup. And you can bet this entire Mountaineer card with your very own DRF Bets account. A $150 sign-up bonus can be yours when you sign up at drf.com/bet. Here's the field of salty older horses going a mile and a 16th at Mountaineer. Carded is race number 7. Again, 4:55 approximate post time. Matt, your morning line favorite is the very honest and hard-trying number 5 Hawakam, a horse that saved ground to win the Grade 3 Razorback handicap. I mean, he literally scraped the paint to win that race on a day at Oaklawn where the rail was good, and then a similar trip went second to the Ali Sheba 2 starts back. I thought he tried hard last time out in the Foster. He's just no match for those horses at this point in time.
Yeah, and really, I don't want to hold that race against him because, like you say, he was facing some let's just say, superior talents in there, and you're going to see a couple of them come back in some big Grade 1s over the weekend. Look, he is honest. He just shows up and runs his race. I think it's a positive that he has won at Mountaineer in the past. To me, the big concern with Hawakam, and I have to say, for 90% of this field, they all want to come from out of the clouds. And there's not much as far as speed is concerned in here. So really, at that point, does this thing kind of turn into a turf race on dirt? Who has the best late finish of them all? Hawakam is right up there toward the top.
That's a very fair point. You know I'm a huge fan of Hawakam. He did win this race in 2016, but the last time Hawakam went off as the favorite was June 24th, 2015 at Evangeline Downs. He's usually the nice alternative at 8 or 9 to 1. You could take a stab with Hawakam. At a shorter priced favorite, he's still a solid horse, but he may not be as appealing. Still, I would expect him to give his usual honest effort. Let's talk about the 2. Rated R Superstar for Kenny McPeak. This horse tried the Pimlico Special last time out, and Irish Warcry got away with a nice easy trip on the front end. I don't think Rated R Superstar is the same horse on a wet track. He's going to get a dry track here, but like Hawakam, his best racing comes from off the pace.
He's going to be coming from, I don't want to say last because I don't know who's actually going to be last in here because they all want to come from last. But this is a situation with a horse. I've never been a huge fan of his, and I have to be honest, I was impressed with that run in the Ben Ali 2 starts back, but that race as a whole has not come back all that strong. He's the kind of horse to me, and at odds of 5 to 1, he just seems like a bad underlay at that spot.
The 7 Mott True has been a fantastic claim. These connections nabbed him for $25,000 back in March. He is not only now a Grade 3 winner, winning the Hanshin Cup over the Arlington Polytrack, but he is Grade 1 placed, finishing 3rd and ahead of Hawakam in the Grade 1 Foster. What happened last time out in the Cornhusker? Was it simply a situation where maybe he didn't get enough pace, maybe the mile and an eighth a little bit too far? Because in his recent form, he must be respected.
Yeah, he must be respected, but he's another one. I just kind of feel this way about so many of these horses in this race that at their morning line odds, and who knows if they actually go off at these prices, 7 to 2 on Matru, as good that he has been recently. Let's also call a spade a spade. He was beaten by 4 in the Foster. I know he finished 3rd, but he's beaten by 2.5 lengths most recently in that race at Prairie Meadows. Remembering Rita came back and earned a 93, but that was in sort of a dullish effort at Monmouth over the weekend. To me, I don't know. I think this horse should probably get back to the synthetic when it's all said and done. Does he have a chance in here? Absolutely. But he's another one. At that price, I want no part of him.
What are we going to get from the number 6 Imperative? If he goes off at his 6 to 1 morning line, there are going to be a lot of folks that are going to argue. On his best day, he is simply the best horse in this race. His last race, his first start in 434 days, could be forgiven. A, because of the layoff. B, because of a short, paceless field where he had to come from last. You could also look at it on the flip side. He did no running at all in the Island, and one has to wonder if the ripe old age of 8, if he can still run anymore.
I totally a fair question, a fair statement there. Can he still do it? But guess what? If he can, he is the best horse in the race. He has accomplished the most on the racetrack throughout his career, and we've always been a little bit critical of him, where he's been a little bit more of a nibbler than anything, except when you get him to Charlestown and he turns into Secretariat. But he's just the kind of horse that he's really cool. I like to root for him. I think there's a real scenario where he ends up being one of the favorites come post time, and I think that's going to be indicative of, do the connections think he can still run? If he can't still run, I think he's going to be a little bit chilly on the board. If the connections are confident, I would expect him to be in that 5-2, 3-1 range.
Another closer breaks from the inside, the much improved #1 Secret Passage, who popped a 96 Beyer speed figure when dangled for a 62.5 tag at Belmont last time out. Now, he got a big pace, I thought, to run at that day. It helped him out. It's going to be a different situation against tougher horses, but you have to respect this barn. It looks like they've turned this Curlin gelding around.
Yeah, and he beat a decent enough field that day at Belmont most recently. The third place finisher, Realm, he was the next out winner with an 84, and the sixth place finisher earned an 88 in his next start. The concern I have is that 96, it's not far and away the fastest thing he's ever done. He's actually earned a mid-90 Beyer in the past, but he usually lives in the mid-80 range, and a mid-80 is simply not fast enough to win a race like this. Also find it interesting, the time form rating is significantly lighter than the sort of corresponding Beyer for that most recent start. So I think you need to make a decision. Which number do you actually trust?
Let's take a look at the Timeform U.S. pace projector, because we mentioned we're not expecting a lot of pace. Timeform agrees, as you see with that blue bar. The 4 Great Emperor is expected to be on the lead. This horse is coming out of a gate of to-wire maiden win, albeit over the polytrack surface at Arlington Park. He's probably going to go to the front. He's probably going to set a rated pace, but he probably also makes a nice target for the trackers.
Yeah, in all reality, he probably is just a little bit cheap to win a race like this. But if you ever wanted lone speed, this is lone speed. He's going to be out there all by his lonesome, and he's probably going to be able to get a half mile in 48 and change, almost 49, and still probably be 2 lengths clear of everyone else. He's the kind of horse where, you know what, I don't think he's good enough to win, but it would not stun me at all if he pulled off some sort of a big upset at odds of 18 or 20 to 1.
I wonder if the 8 Term of Art pulls off the best trip, tracking that 4 in the early portion of this race. He returned off a 294-day layoff to make his 4-year-old debut at Ellis Park last time out. And I thought it was a good effort for the comeback. It was a race that didn't have a lot of pace. He made a nice mid-move into it. He finished it off. Yes, it was a subpar field of horses than what he's going to face here, but he might get the jump on some plotters turning into the stretch. And he always showed a hint of ability as a 3-year-old for Doug O'Neill. Now he's with Brad Cox.
Doug O'Neill always handled him like he was a good horse, like he was cut out to be something. And you know what? When I first handicapped the race, I said he is going to trip out in here. He's going to work out the beautiful situation, sit just off that horse that's probably a little bit inferior, and take over. The problem is when I go back and watch that most recent start at Ellis, I know that was his first start in some time. A little bit late with the lead change, not all that fast. Look, he can certainly take a step forward second off the bench for Cox, but at the end of the day, he just still feels like he's Term of Art.
Rocky Tough, the #9's coming out of a race that's come back pretty weak, a 62.5 optional claimer at Churchill Downs. That being said, I thought he ran quite well over a speed-friendly track in a race with no pace, and he tried to come from far back, and he still finished a good 3rd. The problem is he's facing better horses and a similar pace situation. If he couldn't overcome it last time, how does he do it here? You've got to think there are better closers.
Agree. I look at this and say, you know what, he did. He ran pretty well considering how slow they went in that most recent start, but you need to have at least 1 or 2 horses come back and do something out of that race, and none of them have picked their feet up.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Grade 3 West Virginia Governor's Cup. You're going to go with the #3 Leofric, and you could make the argument when you factor in ground loss that 2 starts back in that Razorback handicap, Leofric was better than Hawakam. Hawakam went to the winner's circle, Leofric went back to the barn hot and dirty, but Leofric had to come 4 wide while Hawakam shot right up the rail. Leofric's race last time out, boy, he made up a lot of ground, beat a couple of next out winners, and we know he can run faster than that. Can he be more tactically placed?
I don't know. And I guess that's really the tough thing with handicapping this entire race is so many of them have the same running style where it just feels like they're going to be so far back, especially when there is no pace for them to be running at. It's just kind of a matter of who do you actually think has the best late finish. If Leofric replicates that kick that he showed in that most recent start, I have to be honest, for a minute, I didn't even know if he was still in the race because when they turned off the far turn, he wasn't even in the picture, and somehow he comes and charges home to the point where Flo basically wrapped up on him at the very end. You brought up that Razorback, and that's kind of the race that I had to keep going back to. Not only was it the ground loss differential, but you brought it up at the very top when we talked about Hawakam. That was a day that the rail was gold, and this horse was very wide throughout, and I think that's just... You can combine the two, and I can make a case that Leofric, I know he was 3 1/4 behind. I can make the argument that he ran every bit as well, if not better, than Hawakam that day. and I think he might be a decent number. He's not going to be 10-1, but I think he might be in that 9-2 range when it's all said and done.
And I think another good point about this horse is he's still relatively unexposed. This is start number 11. We've probably seen the best from the Rated R Superstars and the Matruhs and the Hawakams and the Imperatives. It's an intriguing race. You would certainly take the 6 on Leofric. I'm not sure you're going to get it. Who else do you use again?
3, 5, 6, 7 in here for me, but really this race boils down to I just don't know how slow is the pace going to be. If they go 51 to the half, I don't even have a real good way of gauging who's going to be able to finish well. Most of these horses need something to run at, and they're probably not going to get it.
Hawakam is one of those horses that's going to need some pace. I just know he's going to come with an honest effort, win or lose. 5-2 on the morning line is too short. I don't think I'd get the 7-2 that I need to win. For me, this is a spread race. I'm going to go 5, 1, 7, and 6 in the Grade 3 West Virginia Governor's Cup, one of 2 graded races at Mountaineer on Saturday. Of course, the other one, the prestigious West Virginia Derby. Bet both of them with a DRF Bets account. Sign up, get $150. It's at drf.com/bet. Approximate post time for the Grade 3 West Virginia Governor's Cup, 4:55 Eastern. Good luck.